Welcome to Just Another Autism Podcast. In this podcast, I, Eileen Lamb, explore the personal journeys of people in the autism community, from autistic individuals navigating daily life to the caregivers, educators, and employers who support them. Each week, we shed light on the different ways autism shapes lives, offering first-person perspectives from every angle of the community. And today, I am pleased to be joined by Andrew Arbe. Andrew is an autistic self-advocate with over 6 years of professional experience helping autistic individuals be empowered by sharing his experiences with his freelancing brand and public speaking services. Thank you for coming on, Andrew. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
I'm sure, and that's a lot, so I'm gonna try to really ground it a lot more. But I'm a kind of like an autistic self-advocate, and yes, I don't have no preference on the language space. Like I want people to be vaxxed on that. Like I don't care on any preference, so you could use whatever with this podcast of yours. But I'm not only a self-advocate, but I've also worked as a teacher assistant over at a private autism school in Connecticut. And then probably one of the major topics for this podcast is I also have a freelance brand where I do kind of like a freelance public speaking. Like I provide public speaking on my personal experiences, kind of just lived experience and kind of professional experience. Like I speak around various Connecticut, like the East Coast states, hopefully a little more New York and some Pennsylvania, but I'm in no rush. Massachusetts has been giving me a lot of clientele over there. Like I've worked with such providers like the Association for Autism and Neurodiversity, or ANE. Before the name change, I've done presentations with the Federation of Children with Special Needs, and then a few other places in Connecticut. Like I spoke in their ASPE work conference. It's an employment first group that's kind of nationwide. So I've done a lot of different public speakings, and it's all on lived experience and anything that I've actually done. Like there's a topic I wouldn't, with any topics I don't have experience, I don't bother with it. And then I'm just kind of doing my own thing. I'm pretty neutral with most autism stuff. So I just approach it and just want to work with everyone in general.
Awesome. And I know you also have worked on driving with autism. And I know that's a resource that a lot of people, autistic people and caregivers have benefited from. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, and first thing, because I was the founder of that, the program does not exist as this podcast day currently does. So yeah, I used to want it. It used to be like a webinar series I hosted for a firm, and things didn't work out. It just hit the mark. I was also I was everyone including me, like a market wasn't there, and I was over ambitious. So certain things didn't work out, and I had to kind of let it go. So that program doesn't exist. I don't want to give any false information. But I have done driving accuracy. That's kind of was one of the cornerstones. It kind of like the starting point of my accuracy. Like there wasn't really a lot in Connecticut for driving resources, and I was like trying to figure out because I used to be in community college years ago, and to be in the disability like specialist field, like you need like a license of sorts for a lot of the therapy and mental positions. So I'm always for kind of early starting, like figuring out like the jobs and what transportation do I need and what would give me the least kind of barriers as much as possible. The main barriers now is just kind of bachelor's that I'm kind of remedying by the end of this year. I'll be graduating with my bachelor's. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that will go. But I've always like promoting proactiveness and just kind of like be able to kind of find ways to kind of help someone learn how to drive. Like I've done a lot of accuracy consultations and it led to driving with autism. But nowadays I kind of channel that. I channel the similar energy for my public speaking one. It's kind of like my next kind of latest thing that I've been working on. I still do some driving. I still do driver talks. Like I did a talk through community autism resources in Massachusetts. And that one, my dog was kind of terrorizing me in the Zoom, like kind of he And he was 6 months during that time. He's 8 months now of this recording, and he would always like grab like the hand right here. So I was kind of grabbing it and present at the same time. It was pretty hilarious. And then he swept afterwards just to rub it off me. But
Sweet.
I just do talks like that. And also on my website, I do have a blog on driver resources in all 50 states, kind of like driver schools, and there's like specialty driver schools that exist in selective states. Like I kind of channeled everything I was doing in the past and made it just like a resource that anyone can use in all 50 states.
That's awesome,
Oh,
and
and I
linked to
forgot,
that.
sorry for interrupting. And I also have the Connecticut public passenger endorsement where I drive students to community settings and job sites. I almost forgot about that. I keep forgetting about that. So yeah.
Amazing. And it sounds like you do so much for the autism and autistic community. Did you face any challenges in your advocacy? Any big successes that you want to share?
Probably a lot. I mean, the fact even for technically Drive with Autism failed, but starting it along with the people that supported me, that's kind of like technically the big success along with that. Just saying that, hey, I tried. Hey, I tried. And then for other successes, one of those was doing a keynote, like a keynote presentation with Autism Connections in Massachusetts. Like I did one like last year. It was one of the reasons I kind of jump started in my public speaking. And I imagine it'd be questions of how I got that started. So I'm going to try not to go too much in detail there. But that was actually really cool. And really, I lost my train of thought. That train kind of went out the window, but that was cool. And then just like and I've been realizing that today, I was kind of reflecting on like my past accuracy, just kind of like the few people that I did help get their licenses through emails and like Zoom chats that was very fulfilling.
That's awesome. How many people have you helped? Thousands? Hundreds?
No, not that much. I mean, driving is still pretty niche. Like, there's been a lot more there's been more research. Like, one of the things I forgot to mention was I'm a kind of like a consultant over at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. Like, I was on their current study, which might be coming out. I don't want to say too much, but if you search it up, I did a blog with them a year ago because I originally got involved with them in 2022, and I couldn't really say a lot. There wasn't too much work going on until last year, and now it's kind of like kind of there, kind of not. But I'm just kind of waiting on the next thing before they finalize it. So it's still going to take time. I've did a research course where it just takes time, just setting up, getting the approvals and all that. It's a process. It's probably something I would put in my freelance side because it originated through when I did Drive with Autism, but now it's kind of like I consider it like a freelance as one of the possible freelancing I could do.
Do you have any advice to share with parents and autistic people who might be struggling in learning to drive?
Good, really good question. And one thing I want to say is I want to be very careful of not. I don't want to speak for the whole population because there are people that benefit a lot more with buses, Ubers, and certain states call it transit, which kind of like more fixed bus routes. So I would kind of want to get that out of the way. It's kind of like finding the right information, and I kind of address this because resource finding, and actually in the blog that I did through CHOP, it kind of there was a study about their caretakers about going through kind of finding driving resources, and one of the findings was the lack of trained professionals or driver instructors that know autism, and there's also expensive, which was one of the failings from driving for autism, where it's kind of pricey for the webinar series. So it's an interesting study. I don't know if it's up for free because with research, not all of it's free. I have done a lot of autism papers through my time at the college I'm at, Charlie Oak State College, and believe me, and sometimes finding research that you could use for research. Not fun. Like I try to go for the ones I can actually print out and at least read it. So there, and hopefully, did I address all the questions? Like I can get kind of overboard with this. Did I
No, you're
address all the
good.
points?
That's really good. Perfect. Straight to the point, concise. It's good.
But finding that, yeah, and then parents, it's kind of like finding the resources and then find different strategies that can work. Like there's actually a lot of things, and like investing in life skills because a lot of that can lead to driving, like taking the bus or like doing like trying to like doing stuff independently or having like guided help if that makes sense. like those can kind of be some big differences. I think it's called scaffolding. I think it's called that. It's like a special education term. I work as a teacher assistant, and I've done a lot of one-to-one works at where I'm at. So a lot of the English has rubbed off me. So, and I'm taking an early childhood education class. So more of it's even rubbed off me. So I'm starting to kind of say it in everyday speech.
It's good. You do so much. It's impressive. And I want to go back to your speaking engagements because that's pretty new for you, right? And so what made you want to start speaking publicly? Because that's hard for so many people. And how did you get started?
Really good question. If that, it was kind of like it was born through my driving accuracy. It was born through that because I've done presentations, and that's where a lot of the doors open there. It's kind of like going the Temple Grandin approach. Is just kind of like finding those like little doors that you could find. That's the best way to describe it. And if you read enough of her books, you kind of notice like she speaks very highly about going through the back door, having like a work portfolios. And I've always spoke at different events, even during my past years when I was networking in Connecticut. And it just led to over time, I'd started to do presentations for nonprofits. And what I was doing with Driving with Autism, it led to several engagements and also did a webinar series, which technically counts for public speaking experiences. When I had all the job changes and I got back to working in special education, I was trying to design my website just to kind of take the things that worked with Driving with Autism, but I kind of wanted to kind of do my own thing. This kind of like offers me kind of like my own take on freedom. I don't want to be too techno on freelancing because people have different styles for that. I really like the side, on doing it on the side. Just the most freedom. It's not like I need to restrict myself. And a lot of it I don't have any startup or like those, what's it called? It's a business term, startup cost, or those side costs where I have to think about. It just whenever I have time to do it, and if I could schedule time away from my main job, or if it's like a big conference, I actually have no choice to schedule time off, I could do it. Just kind of like that flexibility, like that choice. And I kept getting several engagements I paid, including that keynote presentation there. I'm not gonna boost here. Just say it was fixed price. I went all out cheaper, but they told me they had to pay this there. And afterwards, I just shut up. I just shut up. And I kept getting the small term ones that they just like I remember one parent group actually sent me a check, and I was like, I don't remember seeing a check. Like I do not remember that. I was like, oh, and then I had the state of Connecticut pay me for being in a panel. It was, I think it was something consumer protection. It was like for like lived experience, like one of those diversity summit things. And
Nice.
after a while, and then was doing my website design just to kind of highlight and do like a work portfolio version of all my content. If you look at it now, it lists everything from not just my public speaking and different offerings like professional development, but I've also do freelance and my professional history certifications and all that. Like if you look at it now, it's very detailed, and it's kind of like a second home instead of LinkedIn. LinkedIn being the first home, and people could see like all the stuff I post there. But I basically don't want this to kind of get derailed, but it's kind of like after getting numerous engagements that I kind of paid, I was like, you know what? Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could actually do this on the side. So it kind of convinced me, and I actually have done a lot of traveling thanks to that. Like I spoke at a few conferences. I spoke was the ARC of Massachusetts Transition Journeys Conference. It's like a biannual event, which was really cool. I spoke about college. And I've also spoken a random New Hampshire autism symposium, a conference, definitely like a event that's meant to be more like North Carolina, like Utah, like it seemed more in the southern states. And for some reason, for this year, 2024, they decided to do it up here in New Hampshire. And I drove in there before, or drove in New Hampshire before, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna submit a proposal. And I just did it, and they accepted it. And I was like, all right, sure, why not? It's not every day I get to do this, so just kind of like circumstance and just people wanting to see more and realize that I could do it. And it actually helped out pay for the rest of my college. So basically, I'm all set. I still use grants and everything just because I'm not a believer in college loan. I know it's there and it could technically still be a good thing, but it's like if I want to be less in the crowd of people that are going through student loans to the day until the day I retire, if I can avoid that, sure. Sure, like I would gradually avoid it. So it got kind of long-winded, but it just opportunities, and I was like, you know what? I should just invest to it. And I'm gonna see because I want to kind of build my brand over time. Just whenever kind of continuing just having that freedom of just doing it. and not worry about like business costs and all that because it just takes too much. And I learned from driving with autism that I just don't do the business. I kind of just want to do it on the side just whenever I have time and balance it for my main job. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any advice for people who want to do what you're doing, who are inspired by you?
Next week was good because I actually kind of touched upon this. I was actually back in Autism Connections for this year's conference. So I actually there was a speaker there. And then there was a person that's talked about wanting to get into it. And I said, and the best way to describe it, and I told this person, I waited till the right time. I have done work in schools, and I've seen enough students that kind of just barge in, that's kind of in your face to be like, Andrew, Andrew, can I talk to you in there? And they have to kind of model that. You have to wait for your turn. So I just waited, and it's like, best way to describe it, it's kind of like starting with small Lego sets. I know it seems silly, but if you think about it, like you see the small Lego sets, and that's kind of like a way to build yourself, and you get more confidence with the medium-sized sets. And then at some point, you could tackle that Death Star Lego set, or I've been seeing this on Facebook, like those that Millennium Falcon, that like alternate set, that like big box is almost like a video game console box. It's like, but over time you get more used to it, and you start tackling like kind of like the big events there. And that's something that happened. I did small talks, and then eventually I started doing a lot more traveling. And if I want to, I could tackle the other states. I'm just keeping the East Coast. And then for any like out of East Coast states, I do virtual. Just it makes sense. And as much as I love to do like stuff like the Milestone Autism Conference, I think that occurred in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. It was just something recent. I saw it through LinkedIn. Like if I need more years for that. And not to mention I'd rather do it when I have a full-time job and, like I don't want to take up too much time off because I actually dislike taking time off. So just kind of just building yourself over time and then learning certain tools. Like one of the tools, Canva, which is like free website, kind of like a free website, kind of forms and like social media kind of designing website. And you don't need to pay for it. It's free to use, and it's like a free kind of builder. Like you can design, you can have this text box be wherever you feel like it. You have this certain font. You can include your own pictures. If you go on my website, if you want a good example, I have a downloadable ebook on my public speaking. If you go down the homepage, and you'll know you see it because you will see a picture of me and my dog Sky as like the official mascot of the page. If you go down, if you click on the little ebook, there'll be directions on there. I designed that from that website, free to use, and I printed it out. So it's kind of like serve as like a good sample book I could use when I'm out in resource fairs. Like you could find some really cool free to use, and even my website's designed by Webry, which is like a free website builder, and it comes with free search engine stuff, which is basically SEO, which is like the stuff that Google notices you, and but you could search it through Google search and all that other stuff. So there's actually a lot of free tools that you could use. It depending on how you use it, it could aid you really well, and you not just freelancing, but kind of any business in general. I don't want to be too technical, and it could be a feature topic I could be presenting on, but I'm trying to restrict myself. Last April, I designed like 6, 7 topics, and I went way too far. Like one of them, I was writing it when I was in an autism panel, just something we need to focus on. I still paid attention during the panel, so I get too many ideas. I'm forcing myself to stay like this until next year.
Well, this is great, Andrew. Thank you so much for sharing. I have one last question for you. Are you working on anything new? Do you want to take your advocacy to another level? And also, can you tell our listeners where they can find you online if they want to connect with you?
Okay, I can do my website. The best way to contact me, for my website, it is you can type me up. It'd be easy to Google search my name, but for the website, it's Andrew Arbe, Arboe. I guess some people have trouble with my last name. Webry, WEEBLY.com. And you can also Google me, and also have a LinkedIn, and also have a Facebook that features the same name as my logo, Andrew Arbe, Autistic Self-Advocate and Speaker. And it's also on Instagram as well. So there's a lot of different ways you could find me. And my email is my last name with the A, the first initial A with gmail.com. That'd be a way to find me. And then for like final advice or just anything, oh yeah, future projects, right. I don't want to say a lot of things, but I'm currently working on several of those and I'm trying to get like input on those. I don't want to say a lot and I don't want to hint too much because I kind of believe to have it more ready. Also don't want to be like game developers when they release a product and then it's half finished. Like I don't want to go that route. Like I rather like to have it complete as possible and then just release it on the right time. Just to keep up with my brand's kind of like that self-freedom of like whenever I feel like it, and feel ready, like it's always there. And I'm hoping to do more certifications. Like I'm certified through that IBCCES, that like international certifications. It's a big name. It's a big name, and it fools me a mouthful. But I'm hoping to go into their autism specialist certification. It's like 8 years of a bachelor's and then less if you have a master's. But I'm gonna take my time before I go a master's. I also just need a break from schooling after I get my bachelor's. So I'm hoping I could go through just the bachelor's and then 8 years of autism experience and hopefully get that. Maybe invest in A&E's trainings, but I'm gonna see. But I have many ideas I'm working on what makes sense. So there's a lot of exciting things to come up, and I'm just kind of trying to pace myself. But I'm probably gonna be working on something tonight because why not? And I have a day left before my next college class come up. The 2 out of the 4 classes left. So yep, so big things are coming up here. Is there anything I'm missing?
No, thank you so much for sharing, and best of luck in everything you're trying to do. You're doing a great job for the community, so thank you for taking the time to come on today, and yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I thank you. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for having me here. And again, and I hope you have a wonderful day and good luck on the movie coming out
Thank
in
you so
all the
much,
different
Andrew.
states. Good luck with that.
Thanks.